Tengan todos muy buenos días. Mi nombre es David García y les vengo a presentar mi proyecto, mi empresa llamada Plantech. Plantech es una empresa costarricense de biotecnología que fue fundada este año. Nosotros hemos estado alrededor de 2 años participando en una serie de eventos de emprendedurismo y es este año que obtenemos previamente un préstamo de banco y este año
We used to operate with a bank loan, but this year that we have the investment capital, we can create the company. We want alternatives for agrochemicals, those products that are used for agriculture, and we want to replace them with effective, efficient, and cheaper products. Our first product is Goldroot, which is a nematicide. The nematodes are worms that eat the roots of plants. What we try to do is to find compounds that are found in vegetables. We know they are efficient against this kind of pests. We industrialize them, and in this way we have cheaper, more effective, and more efficient products that are compatible with human health. The major problem that we attack is pests and diseases. Under ideal conditions, pests could produce the loss of the entire crop. But a more important problem is how we manage them. We manage them with highly toxic chemical products, many of which are systemic, meaning that it doesn't matter how much you wash the tomato, watermelon, papaya, whatever, the compound will always be there, and you will eat it. Just for the sake of example, 1,470 workers of a banana company had male infertility, and a decade later we found residues of nematicide in the breast milk and in the tissues of people. But in those two cases were not even about people who worked at the plant, but were people who lived nearby. But because the products were washed away by the rain or swept away by the wind, then the rivers, the soil, and the food got contaminated, and that's how these people got those compounds. This is why it became urgent to develop efficient products, as good as the synthetic products, that will not damage human health and will not damage consumer health either, or the workers' health. Our solution with our products is to use organic and efficient products. For farmers, this will result, well, first, it will not affect their health, but also it will result in greater profits. Because these are efficient products and cheaper products, the farmer needs to invest less in the actual management of the crop and results in greater recovery of the yields, meaning greater income for the company. The process that we use, I will be using Goldroot as an example because we have this plant called marigold, called in English, that produces some compounds in roots. These compounds are capable of paralyzing nematodes and preventing their eggs from setting. What we do is take this plant and introduce it to the lab. Once we have it in the lab, we use genetic engineering procedures to produce the roots, not the leaves, the stems, or the flowers. The roots that we cultivate contain all the nutrients and will simply grow, which helps us produce more organic matter in a shorter time. For you to have an idea, a plant can transform 8 to 10 times more compounds than a regular plant, meaning that what I would get from one laboratory plant I would get from 10 conventional plants in the soil. These roots are later cultivated in a bioreactor, which is like a big machine that helps us control conditions such as temperature, light, nutrition, and this results in an even larger production of these roots, meaning they are cheaper and more efficient. Once we have the raw material ready, we extract the compounds, and our final product is just as efficient as the original root, but it is organic and it does not affect human health or the environment and results in greater profits for the farmer. Just in the Costa Rican farmer, we estimate that the purchases of nematicide round up 128 million, and worldwide the market is for $80 billion. Approximately 9% is the rate of growth of the synthetic product market in Costa Rica. Another problem is that our major markets, the United States and the European market, are creating a number of very severe restrictions to imports. Also, the management and the residues in foods is important, and these countries could prevent our produce from reaching their markets if they contain residues beyond those thresholds. Generally, we follow the guidelines of the USDA or the EPU, meaning the European body that creates these standards. The organic market exists. What we are doing is simply creating biotechnology products that have been highly successful in other fields, such as the pharmaceutical industry or the medical industry. Our customers are of two kinds, the short cycle crops and the long cycle crops. The short cycle crops are watermelon, for example, potatoes, tomatoes, chili peppers, and these are easier to manage. So the person who manages pests in the conventional way can fully shift from synthetic to organic in one single cycle. The second market, like I said, is the long cycle crops like banana, pineapples, some potatoes. And by this we mean the crops that take more than 1 year to maturity. It is more difficult to control pests with these crops. So it is necessary to apply the chemical product first and then the organic product in order to reduce pest populations. This results in greater benefits, less residues, and less investment in pest management. Initially, we will try to sell to Costa Rican small farmers. Once we overcome this first barrier to entry, which is the registration of products, we will be able to sell to brands such as Chiquita, Dole, and Del Monte, to name a few. Our distribution would be made in three ways. First would be the direct sale to farmers. With the marketing campaign that we have launched, many farmers are already interested in Costa Rica to try Gold Root as their first product of choice. The second way to sell would be alliances with other companies. These alliances would help us reach markets that we cannot reach alone. The idea is not to solve the problem of one company, but the problem of several. We can create an alliance so that instead of selling one product against a nematicide, for example, we would also sell fungicide, and this would make it easier for both us and the allied company to enter the market and solve different markets. The third channel of distribution would be the wholesalers. Many farmers prefer to buy from a large distributor. That way they can buy a number of different products from the same source. In fact, there is one wholesaler who is interested in selling Gold Root. As to our competition, we believe that we have two kinds of competitors, synthetic and organic products. The farmer who manages pests in the conventional manner, if he does the shift, he will have a cleaner production. The workers, the customers, and himself will not have to deal with any residues. The farmer will need to invest less in pest management, and the income will be higher. Also, organic products sell better in international market. Whoever manages the pest in an organic manner, by using more efficient products such as Gold Root, can have greater profits. The problem with other products is that they do not result in a yield as high as synthetic products. But with a product that's efficient like ours, the advantage is that the yields will actually be higher, and profits, like I have been saying, will also be higher. As to the effectivity or the duration, the residuality of the product, synthetic products last slightly longer in the environment. Both products are chemicals, actually. The difference is the origin. In one case it is man-made, and in the other case it's organic. That ensures that the environment will not be affected. In the case of regular organic products, they usually need to rely on some environmental conditions, which results in a number of applications. The organic market, however, is growing more and more because consumers are concerned about what they actually eat. And many markets are setting up very strict guidelines for imports. Because of the profile of our product, we actually expect a boom in these markets. Because of the large scalability of our product and the fact that we obtain the raw material much faster than in other ways, we have a very cheap product and one which is almost as effective as synthetic products. Technology is the key for us to sell these products to farmers. As to social impact, our farmer customers will have higher profits, like I said. They will be investing less and obtaining higher yields. The application of the product will be safer. We do not produce toxic wastes to the community because our production is clean. And we will create jobs in the communities where the products are used. Farmers will also find it easier to create jobs when they need to spend less in pest management. In the next few years, we would like to have 20 to 30 employees, mainly technical staff. We would train them so they would have the profile we want. We would educate them to be familiar with the process and the technology that we are applying. This would raise their professional profile and would result in higher salaries. Environmentally wise, we do not pollute water or soils, which are the major targets of the excessive use of agrochemicals. Financially speaking, our growth has been 200% in the last few years, and our profit margin is 60%. We will break even in 24 months. Our investment, for investment we need $150,000, which would be spent in three major ways. First, the bioreactors, the machines that will allow us to achieve greater scalability. We would be controlling the conditions for growth of gold root, and we would also concentrate the useful compounds. We also need equipment to develop new products. This technology can be used in most crops. We have actually identified some plants which contain other compounds that are useful in agriculture, and we would be replicating the use of our technology with those plants. We would use also $50,000 for staff. I am a biotechnologist, and my idea would be to work exclusively in developing new products for the company. And $40,000 would be used for permits, patents, and exportation procedures which are necessary for us to sell abroad. We are beginning operations in Costa Rica, but we want to expand operations to the rest of Central America, primarily Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua. The idea is to reach Mexico then, and then we would use some kind of licensing scheme or any other mode of operation to sell in the US or Europe. One of the strengths of our company is the support that we have received from different large institutions. Primarily, we will be working with Mesoamerica, which is an investment bank. They referred us to another network of investors, and they gave us $75,000 to start. We are also working with the Tecnológico de Costa Rica. We are working in an incubator. We are also working with the biotechnology school that gave us the technology for the roots in our company. And we are working with the University of Costa Rica, whose nematology lab we use to manage the pest. These liaisons help us provide a real pest management, and our products are actually efficient. And recently, we created a liaison with the mite lab, and we are setting up trials to check whether gold root can control mites, not just nematodes. Thank you very much. I loved your presentation. I am familiar with your product, and I can say that I will become one of your customers. There is no question. When will you be returning to Nicaragua? What are your plans? This is something that we do not have here in Nicaragua. And the demand for this kind of product will be huge as soon as you set foot here. There is nothing like gold root in Nicaragua. So, my friend, I would like to know what your plans are. Suppose you have the funding. How soon will you be here? Well, we are trying to work initially in Costa Rica because that's our country and we want to be there. But now we are thinking of changing, of thinking outside the box and expanding to other countries at once. Maybe we can use our contacts to test the product. We do not sell using fancy advertising. We give them the product for him to try it, not just 1 month. We provide accompaniment for almost a year to prove that the product does work over time. The idea is, as soon as we have contacts, we can provide the advisory on pest management. Well, I have a farm myself and a training center on it for farmers. You can use my training center for the trials. Oh, buy me a ticket and I stay here. Thank you, David. One more question. This investment that you need to make, this $150,000, would you do that in stages? I mean, or do you need the money at once, or the full amount? Or you're saying, I can get started with this much, and then I will raise the rest, whatever. Well, the investment would be done in stages, yes, as required. I don't think we would be using the full 150,000 at once, but we do need responses from investors in the sense that maybe I need 20,000 right now to buy a piece of equipment, and I'm not selling too much, but say 2 months later I find a new customer, or I can increase my output, or I can apply for registration in another country. That would be okay. We need a quick response. Many people cannot give you $150,000 just at once, or who prefer to do the investment in stages to check how the company is responding. But we want someone who is capable of responding to the quick growth that we expect. What would be the minimum amount that you would need to get started? I mean, the minimum of those 150,000. Well, making calculations out of thin air, I think that I could work in 3 stages. What would be the amount? 50,000 for the first stage. And what about your managerial team? Do they work full-time with you, or do they work elsewhere? No, our management team, they are entrepreneurs themselves. They have investments in other companies. We have not determined clear roles for each one of us. In our last meeting with Agora, we decided to raise money. I was in Mexico at the time, extracting compounds, and now I'm here in Nicaragua. I will be able to define the roles of each person once I am back in Costa Rica. We do have a board in place, and the members of the board would be in charge of managing the company, but they are not full-time staff. David, this was an excellent presentation. I congratulate you, and your product is extremely interesting. But I'm interested in knowing a bit about your output. I am not familiar with the process, but I think that in order to produce a critical mass and distribute that, I think of a huge plant with drums everywhere, containers everywhere. I don't think it is that easy to produce the critical mass to sell commercially. I wonder if you can explain this so I can be happy with this. Well, in fact, this is one of the reasons why we are applying this technology. And this is one of the advantages with respect to the conventional technology. If I worked conventionally, I would need a huge plant. I would need to cultivate plants, take good care of them, and then extract the compounds. In the lab, what we do is not to increase the size of the company, but the actual output or the organic matter of the plant. I need 1 or 2 plants in the lab for every 10 plants I would need from the soil. The bioreactors help us grow roots, which is an interesting part, and those roots are more productive. That is our aim, to increase yields to the extent possible. This is something I explained. This is a basic explanation that I gave, but we are applying a number of other technologies to increase our yields. We are using a technology that's similar to the one used for vaccines in humans. We provide, to give you an example, it would be like providing the microorganisms for the plants to create antibodies. We make the plant sick for it to produce much more compounds. Of course, we want to grow as a company, but we are also applying technology and making huge efforts to increase yields. That's one of the advantages of tissue cultivation, as this is called, with respect to conventional management. In a very small space, you can cultivate what you would need a huge tract of land for. Say that I want to sell product to a farmer. 1 square meter in my lab is the equivalent of 1 hectare in the field. As any company, we want to grow and we would need space, but not as much as a normal company that would simply process the plant. 1,000 liters would be divided into 1,000 bottles, say. No, this is why we use concentrate. Goldroot has been patented, and is that patent already registered? In which countries? And another question would be, what are the barriers to entry to prevent other companies from copying this product? Well, we are discussing this, how to better protect our product. There is no patent on it. We are trying to find the best way. On the one side, we think it's best to use industrial secrecy. If I file for a patent, I publish what I have. And if I want to sell to Central America, someone can come, check my patent, and then produce it in Argentina, Ecuador, the Netherlands, etc. So sometimes patents are actually backfire, and you need to defend your patent rights. If someone copies your product, then you need to defend your patent, and that implies huge expenses. We prefer using insurance, even if insurance has some weaknesses. It is best, we believe, to protect the product. This is something that we are exploring, and we hope we will have the idea on how best to protect our product. At least we will publish what we do so people can copy what we do. As to barriers to entry, the process is not that simple. Many people are involved in developing this country. For example, the nematology lab, the acarology lab, the Sinvestab in Mexico. We are also applying to work at the CENIBIOT, which is the Center for Biological Innovation in Costa Rica. It's not one single company that can hire someone and develop the product or copy it. They can actually cultivate some roots in a glass. I mean, anyone can do that, but making it to the production level, that is not that easy, because we have a strategic interaction of several groups. David, do you have customers or a portfolio of potential customers? I mean, people who have approached you? I apologize if you already discussed this, but I don't think I heard it. Yeah, we have an important number of people who have approached us. We are not selling yet, but there is a sizable number of people who want to try our product. We won 2 prizes in Costa Rica. We won the 5th place in an award for Latin America. We have won 2 contests on entrepreneurship. And the need for this kind of product in the market has led many farmers to come to us with the interest of trying the product.